This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, Cam, how you doing, my man? You doing all right?
I'm good, man. How you feeling?
I'm in Vegas.
Yeah.
Even though I had to get up at 5 a.m, and boy, my fat ass getting up at 5 a.m, boy, that is just that's a mission. But hey, that's all right. That's all right. We all right. Listen, when you complain about what we do for a living,
Right.
And now the way I get to do it, that I have more freedom than most
before, right?
than most people do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hanging out in an Airbnb. You know what I'm saying, in Vegas.
Yeah.
We got
Haven't
a
hit the
budget.
tables yet.
We actually got a budget. They don't even have a budget in radio anymore. So
Right.
it's a blessing. So I can't.
That's awesome. I'm happy for you. I can see the smile on your face. I can tell you're a lot happier now.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Dude, yeah. And I already caught a Morrissey concert 2 nights ago, so I'm happy actually. So it's all good. Now, the question I have for you is, will Matt Rule be happy after the move he made for Baker Mayfield? Because I got to tell you something. Maybe it's the cynical guy in me or something. It looks to me like a dysfunctional and disastrous thing about to take place in Carolina with all of this. A desperate coach with a desperate move and a quarterback who's desperately trying to revive his career.
Big O, I can't wait to watch it. I'm rooting for
train wrecks, right? Train wrecks.
I root for storylines, man. And Carolina's a team I've covered a bunch. So I'm not gonna lie, coming into this offseason, I was down on Carolina. I'm like, oh man, they're not gonna have much to talk about. I'm gonna have to talk about Sam Darnold versus Matt Corral. That's boring, it's bad quarterbacks are boring. And so Matt Corral could be good, but right now we don't know much about him. Baker Mayfield, he's a lightning rod, right? And so you either hate him or you love him, and he's interesting. More than anything, he's interesting. Guess what their week 1 game is? They go
Browns.
They're playing the Browns.
I know.
And so I don't think I'll be there because I'll probably be here in Miami for the Patriots game. But that game is going to be fireworks because I can't wait to see how spicy Baker Mayfield is if he happens to win that game. Even before the game, press conference, he's going to have something to say. And so the one thing I will say about Carolina is they are interesting now. Matt Rule was always going to have questions about if he's going to be able to survive past this year. When you talk about potential hot seat coaches, he's one of the names that always ends up on the list. And so he's going to have that question throughout the year. Is he going to be able to do enough to save his job? Is Baker Mayfield going to be able to save his job? But I think that he has a better chance to save his job with Baker Mayfield than he did with Sam Darnold or Matt Corral. So I don't know if it's enough. It might not be enough. It might just be a crash and burn situation rather than just a drip into the ocean. But I think he'd rather go down this way rather than kind of, putting his hands up and say, you got me. And that's it. Yeah. So I think that's what you're looking at in Carolina. One thing people forget about Carolina had a really good defense last year. And so quarterback's still a big question, but they still have Christian McCaffrey. They still have DJ Moore. And they got better on the offensive line. They drafted the kid out of North Carolina State, Ike Iguanu. And
I like him, by the way.
They got a really good defense. And so not saying that it's going to work, but it would not shock me if somehow Baker uses this all as fuel and starts to look like the guy he did back in 2020, and they somehow try to make a push for a playoff spot.
Yeah, no, I would. My problem with all of this is, and I'm actually, I like Baker Mayfield. Like, I like his spunk, I like
the swag, right?
Yeah, the swag. I do like it. And I do enjoy the commercials. So I would like for him to be successful so he can keep the commercials going, actually, because they're actually pretty good.
You like the commercials?
I do. I do like the commercials.
I do not like the commercials.
I like the commercials a lot, actually. I enjoy them. But I don't know how this works. And that's my problem with all of this. I don't know if my problem with Baker is I'm still not convinced he's good enough.
Yeah.
And I never was from the get-go. I was never convinced. I wasn't big on them picking him a number 1 overall. Not that I give a shit about the Browns, but I just didn't look at him as a number 1 overall quarterback.
Yeah.
And so that was my thing with him. With Sam Darnold, I never even considered that guy out of USC. He was a turnover machine then, and he has continued to be a turnover machine. He's just one of those scatterbrain guys that I just would never trust. But Baker does have some balls. He does have, toughness to him and all that. And he proved it last year to that team playing, hurt, because you're not gifted as it is. The Lord did not bless you with incredible abilities. Hell, you couldn't run away from a cop.
Right.
There you are, and there's a cop catching you, years ago. So at Oklahoma. So, you're not Mr. Athleticism as it is. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those where I just have a problem thinking that this guy really is franchise. And in order for him to succeed, I think you have to have a monster team around him and great coaches to make things where he just can facilitate.
Right.
And if he can do that, like what they've done with Tannehill over in Tennessee at times, I think that's, but I don't think they have that in Carolina, dog.
Right. You need him to be a souped up game manager, essentially. You need him to not lose you a game. And the one thing I will say is the offense that Carolina's trying to run with Ben McAdoo, what they're trying to do there, they want to get the ball out of his hand quickly. And we know the Ben McAdoo story. We saw that as a head coach. But
that's another part of this whole mess.
Yes.
Those two have to coexist.
If people don't remember, but Ben McAdoo actually 2 or 3 years ago when he was a Giants head coach, because this was a year the Giants, I didn't think, ended up taking Daniel Jones in that draft, right? Was he in that same draft? Yeah. And so they asked him about his rankings, I think afterwards, or maybe after he got fired, and he had Baker ranked 6th among all 6 quarterbacks in that draft. And he talked about why he wouldn't draft him, and he thought that his arm wasn't strong enough for a guy, and you can't draft a guy just off moxie. And now he's the guy who's got to save Baker Mayfield. So it's funny how life brings us back to our decisions. So that'll be fun to watch. In that first conversation in Ben McAdoo's office with Baker, I'm sure he's going to hold his tongue because that's what Baker does, right? Will have nothing to say. So that's going to be another fun element there. But Ben McAdoo's offense, what they're trying to run is that quick twitch, don't be a hero offense. And so in theory, that's what Baker should be his skill set up for. The problem is he thinks he's Patrick Mahomes. He walks around like he's Patrick Mahomes. He talks like he's Patrick Mahomes. But his game is like Baker Mayfield. And so hopefully this humbles him to an extent. The fact that he had almost no trade interest, the fact that he had to take a $3.5 million pay cut just to get a team to trade for him, hopefully that humbles him a little bit and he realizes his skill set. But I'm not confident. And I think the only way Baker Mayfield is going to be successful is if he figures out that he is truly Baker Mayfield and not better than he thinks he is.
Yeah, that to me is going to be the whole deal to it. And remember, he played with the best running game in the NFL last year.
Yeah, with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
He's not going to have that luxury now.
Mr. McCaffrey's healthy. He may be the best running back in football. So they do have a good running game there. Offensive line's not quite as good, but they're getting better. I would argue he has better receivers. I love DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore is one of the most underrated receivers in the league. Robbie Anderson, whenever he's not, if he and Baker can finally get over whatever their issues are, maybe he ends up being a deep threat for him. And we got to remember back in 2020, Baker did lead the Browns to the playoffs. So it's not like this is not, out of the far stretched realm of possibilities. It just, they're going to have to all be on their P's and Q's. So I see a path, but it's not a clear path. I wouldn't bet on it. But it's not, I like their path now better than I would have liked it with Sam Darnold. I did not want to watch any Sam Darnold football.
Let me ask you something. Do the Raiders get enough love for how inclusive they've been as an organization since the 60s? Because they were part of the AFL, and obviously the AFL gave black players the opportunities that the NFL rarely gave. Because I don't know if you know the story, but back in the day, the NFL only had 2 or 4 black players on a team. They wouldn't have 1, and they wouldn't have 3. Why? Because they wanted the 2 black players to room with each other instead of. But in the AFL, Al Davis and the Raiders and the Chargers, they did something different. Because the NFL had players room together, but they had them room as whites or blacks.
Right.
Well, in the AFL, they're the ones that started where you hung out in your position group. So
Right.
it didn't matter what it was. You were going to hang out with your position group, whatever it was. And obviously in the AFL, they had a ton of black players compared to the NFL. And then the NFL said, yeah, I think we better go to those black colleges and start looking at some talent. Because that Abner Haynes guy, I wish we had him. You know,
Right.
that kind of shit started developing, and they were like freaking out. So, and then came Art Shell. Then comes Tom Flores, the Hispanic coach who has 2 titles with them. They already had a woman in the front office as it is before. Now they hired a black woman for the first black woman, which, by the way, I also want to throw in a caveat. I'm here in Vegas. He's laughing already. And they had a story of Miss Nevada.
Where is this going, Big O?
I want you to know Sandra Douglas Morgan was hotter than Miss Nevada. I'm just saying. I mean, that's impressive, okay? But anyway, as I digress, the Raiders, you know, considering that this is a league that needs to learn to be more inclusive like the NBA, and like the rest of the world should be,
right?
You know, the Raiders are actually freaks in a league that has not been known to be inclusive.
Yeah, you got to give the Raiders credit because, you know, this is something that's very important to me, the topic of inclusion in these areas. And you got to look at it. The first black GM, you know, Art Shell there for the Raiders. You got a black female president. I think she's only the 3rd or 4th black president we've had in the NFL, and definitely the first black female president. And you got to look at the Raiders, and they haven't always been successful on the field, but they always have been willing to test a barrier. Like even this offseason, he didn't get signed, but they worked out Colin Kaepernick, the first team to work out Colin Kaepernick in 4 or 5 years. And so they're always willing to get outside of the societal norms to try different things. Now, I will say the Raiders are going through a interesting period because they've already fired 2 presidents over the last year.
Yeah.
And so they've been in a lot of turmoil. And
the HR person they hired also yesterday, she came from the Venetian. Right here from the hotel, from the Venetian. So,
and the president they just hired is from the Gaming Commission as well. So they're tapping a lot into the Vegas Gaming Commission. And I guess it makes sense because that's what Vegas is popular for. So I guess, but
it's really smart because she's well entrenched with the business side of this town.
Right.
So you need to extract money from this town, and that's a great way, and that's a bridge right there. Yeah.
But it's not lost on me that they are hiring a black woman to fix their issues essentially. Now I'm still happy about the move. I think that it's going to be excellent. Hopefully it leads to more and more progress. But hopefully,
by the way, they're not token moves.
No, these are people exactly. And that's great.
Since the '60s, they've been doing this since the '60s. This is not trying to appease anybody or a PR move or any of that shit.
Yeah,
I could say that if it was the Redskins, and I would probably say that if it was the Redskins. But the Raiders, huh? Oh, the Commanders. I'm sorry. But the
Commanders.
But the Raiders, yeah, I know. But the Raiders set the example, and so they're not bullshitting when they give a minority a job. It's because they're giving that minority the power to have that job too.
Right. Look at her resume. This isn't a token hire. She's done this for a long period of time. Her husband played in the NFL, so it's not like she doesn't know football. It's not like she's just a business person coming through in. She's got a law degree. She's coming through a lot of the Gaming Commission in Vegas. She's been in Vegas for 20 years, so she knows the area. So there's a lot of things that make sense about this hire other than her just being a black.
She should also be Miss Nevada. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just saying.
Let her be focused on her chop for the job.
Go pull up Sandra Douglas Morgan and go pull up Miss Nevada.
Right.
Tell me I'm wrong. I
haven't seen Miss Nevada. Sandra, she's a very, very, very attractive young lady.
Nothing wrong with Miss Nevada.
Right.
But Mrs. Morgan is just.
But my point is that I think that she's gonna be good at her job. Her
oh yeah, for sure.
Her resume speaks for itself, and hopefully it's moving the Raiders into the right direction. period. Like I said, they have been historic and setting trends for a team for a long time, and I'm pumped about it. But they're also currently in the current era in a very important period because they went and got Devontae Adams via trade. They went and got
they're a good team.
Chandler Jones. This is a team, and I think that in that wide open AFC West, I wouldn't be shocked if any of those 4 teams come out and win a division. And so they got a new GM who I think is going to be a really good guy, and Dave Ziegler there coming from the Patriots, but does things his own way. And so I think he's going to be a great fit there. Josh McDaniels getting his second shot. So it's a new era of Raiders football. And so I think that, hopefully this shifts to a positive era for them. But I think the move's a good move. I think it's a good sign of positivity the Raiders desperately needed over the last 3 months of negativity. And we'll kind of see how it goes. Hopefully,
Listen, they obviously need to vet who they pick because
not a lot of draft picks. That's why they got a new GM and head coach. Because the old GM and head coach couldn't pick guys who could stay out of legal trouble.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you're gonna invest and you're gonna be part of a community, you don't want to start drafting players that are doing some of the crap that they did off the field. That was a really bad year. Considering they had a really good year on the field,
right? They
couldn't enjoy their success on the field because it was all tarnished by everything that happened off the field. And that and let me tell you something, and I'm sure you've seen it, Cam.
Yeah.
You come and see their stadium and their practice facility and everything everything is first class, dude. It looks
amazing.
It's state of the art. It looks fantastic,
and it's a flip. Because have you ever been to the old black hole?
Yeah,
it was literally a black hole.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I know. I've been there.
It was dope, but there was only one elevator down. It would take you like 20 minutes to get down. It was leaking in certain places. Don't go there at night. It was a whole element in it, and so the whole stadium is flipped. I was there for the Pro Bowl, and it's probably the 2 or 3 nicest stadiums in the league now.
Yeah. I went even for. I remember I lived out in San Fran for a while, so I lived when Bonds was still in a Giant, and the Bash brothers were in the Bay. So so it was back in '97, so they were still there. Bonds was an asshole, by the way, because he always he always slept in the damn pre-game. He was always sleeping in the trainer's room, and you never got access to him. Now,
the closer to the Roy's, the better, right?
Yeah. Although I gotta say, I did get it. Bonds was really nice because I had a friend of mine that had connections. She hooked me up with Bonds and Bonilla in one interview, which was like,
really?
Yeah. I got along great with Bobby when he was down here. When Bobby was in Miami. I know Bobby had issues with other people. I could never complain about Bobby. He was always great to me. But yeah, Barry was. You would want to talk to Barry, and he was always sleeping in the trainer's room back in the day.
Got to slip the roids off,
Yeah. And dude, Candlestick was the worst. You had to sit in the sun. You sat in the shade, and you froze your ass off in the middle of the summer, bro. You were like, "What the hell is this?" It's July, and there's this wind coming right through Candlestick. That was brutal, dude. And the Oakland Stadium was dog crap. Crap. It's still dog crap. Yeah. Hell, we'll see if the A's end up in Vegas.
Maybe. I think Oakland. Hopefully, Oakland keeps one of those teams. I actually, surprisingly, people always talk about it. I like Oakland, the city. Like every time we would go out to the Bay for a trip, whether it be the 49ers game or, whatever's going on, the Oakland game when they were back there, I would always stay in Oakland. And so, or I would always spend time in Oakland. I wouldn't stay in Oakland. I would stay in San Fran and then spend a lot of time over in Oakland because I had good friends that were from that area. And so a lot of people were afraid to be in that area. But to me, you felt a lot of the culture in Oakland. You just had to be careful what areas of Oakland you went at certain times of night. And so I think that was my perspective of that. And I always appreciated Oakland for its authenticity for the Bay. Bay is really, San Fran a lot of times is geared to the tourists and a lot of the tech people who are there. The Bay, you found the real people. And so that's what I always seek when I go to places. Like I said, but the stadiums, no. If I'm living in a stadium, I want the stadium to be bougie. I want the culture to be real. I want the stadium to be bougie. I want everything nice. I don't want any holes. I don't want.
That's right. That's right. I was in Tiburon when I lived in San Fran. I lived in Tiburon, which when you go through the Golden Gate,
Right.
Sausalito's the first island.
Yeah.
Tiburon's the next island.
Right.
And have you ever been to Key Biscayne here in Miami?
Yeah. I used to live in that.
I tell everybody when they ask me what's Tiburon, I say it's Key Biscayne with mountains.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
If you, I don't know if you've been to Tiburon.
I haven't been to Tiburon.
I'm sure you've been to Sausalito, but Tiburon is
Yeah.
basically Key Biscayne with mountains. You know,
Gotcha.
it was really, really nice. So yeah, it was bougie. So yeah. Well, what are you gonna do, bro? You know what I mean?
You like some bougie things, you like some culture things. Yeah, a little dib and dab, you know, like
Hey, let me tell you something.
Like for example, on vacations, right? I deal with this with my wife all the time. My wife is bougie, a lot more bougie than I'll ever be. So my wife, every time we want to go on vacation, she wants to go to an all-inclusive place. She wants to be catered to.
I've heard, right?
Things, right. And so me, I don't mind that, but I like to be in the culture of a place. I want to see where people live. I want to eat their food. I don't want to eat the Americanized version of their food. I want to eat their food. Like if there's some toxins in it, I want the toxins too. You know, I want the $2.50 plate that's off the street. That's what I want. I want to feel it. And so we always have to compromise, and we do a mixture. I remember on our honeymoon, we did St. Lucia. And so we did 5 nights in an all-inclusive resort in the very top of the island. Were super nice, adults only, infinity pool. We had butlers coming out to us, crazy stuff. And the second, we did only 2 days. I can only negotiate 2 days. Nothing's ever equal in marriage. I got 2 days where we went down south in like a rainforest area where we essentially were living in like a tree house. They had Airbnb and stuff. And the whole time, my wife's complaining, oh, there's a bug that bit me. This happened. I'm like, babe, we are in the wilderness. What do you expect? And she's like, we're never doing this again. And so that was the end of me trying to negotiate part of my vacation. Now all of our vacations are pretty much bougie.
Well, let me tell you, one of the best mornings of my life was driving out of Tiburon.
Yeah.
Because and this is 97, so I have a 280ZX.
Yep.
And I would always take the T-tops off in the morning.
Yep.
To feel that breeze in San Francisco. And as you turn the corner from Tiburon and you're going right into the Golden Gate, it's the morning. So the fog is covering up the entire bay.
Right.
And you can't even see Alcatraz because it's covering up the whole bay. But when you look at the city, it looks like it's sitting on the clouds.
Yeah.
And it's like it was a priceless view. So if anybody ever wants like a great view, mornings in San Francisco,
I'll have to check that out.
Coming from Tiburon, from Sausalito into the Golden Gate, before early mornings, before the fog has dissipated.
Yep.
You look at, and it is a beautiful view, dude. It is magical. I will say that. That is one of my most memorable mornings of my life, is driving into San Francisco in the morning with the fog covering the bay. What a view, dude. What a view. It is. I will say this. Northern California is just gorgeous country, man.
Yeah.
Just gorgeous. It really is. It really is. It's
really
nice.
nice.
All right. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe. Sorry, there was no Dolphins talking this whole
segment. Hey, it's okay. Trust me, we'll have plenty of time to talk Dolphins.
I mean, I tried to come up with something, and like, what am I going to ask you, bro?
Right.
You know what
I mean, it's July 8th.
Is Mostert or Cam, who's going to rush for more yards? Will Waddle or Tyreek catch more balls? You know, I mean, what do you want me to do, bro? There's nothing going on. Okay, sorry, Dolphin Nation.
The good thing is 2 weeks from now, we'll be talking heavy training camps. A few days away,
exactly.
All the battles, everything, we're full in it. Trust me, I am not going to apologize for these last 2 weeks of.
By the way, we had a great segment here.
We did.
We had a great
fun. We talked about the Panthers quarterback hell. We talked about the Raiders diversity efforts. We talked about vacation views,
football life, and
yes, exactly,
and the real Miss Nevada.
The real Miss Nevada.
It's a complete segment, bro. That's what it's all about.
That's what the people want to hear.
That's it. That's what the peoples want.
Yes.
There we go. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe, and of course, catch him doing his thing at the NFL Network. See, I'm not screwing that up anymore. All right. We will catch you next week, my friend. Have a great weekend. Appreciate you.
All right. You too, big dog.
You got it. There you go. That's our KSDT. Very no Miami Dolphins and NFL report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.